Uh, all right. I am hoping the live streaming should have been started by now. Check. Yep, it has been started, and I'm sharing the streaming link here in the chat as well. Okay. So just to repeat for everyone, the agenda for today's session is going to be the revision for the upcoming OPE2 exam, and we shall be discussing about the topics that will fall under the section 2 of the exam. Okay. So let me quickly start sharing, and please do let me know as in when my screen becomes visible to you.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
All right, thank you. So we shall be starting with the first week of the second section of the OP2 exam, which should be or which will be week 7. And in week 7, there are mainly two concepts that have been discussed. Well, I would say I would like to put them into the same category, which is going to be of arrays. But even in these arrays, there was one more thing that was discussed, which was strings. Though both are the same thing, or I would say string is also a type of an array, but generally we talk about this as a separate data structure, as a separate data type. But in C, no such data type exists separately for this particular string notation. So ultimately it is going to be a character array only, as uh, we will study it in the C language. So if I will ask you that if you were to define array in the most simple definition that you can, how would you define an array in a single line? Anyone?
Uh, Sir, array can stores different uh, values be in different memory locations of same
Okay,
data type.
exactly. Yeah, that's correct. So this is a perfectly valid definition where I can call array n, or we can say directly say collection of collection of homogeneous elements. This is what we can define an array with, homogeneous elements. Now here, the word homogeneous means, as you correctly mentioned, it means the same data type. The data type of all the values that you will get to use will be the same. Okay, so this is a definition: collection of homogeneous elements. That means collection of same data type elements. That is fine. But why do you need array? What is the practical use case or application of using an array in any given programming language, be it C or any other? Can anyone think of a practical use case of using an array? Why would you want to use an array and not create so many variables?
For storing and processing multiple data.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, I think the answer to this, it lies in the previous statement that I made. That you, why do you create array instead of creating so many other variables? So let's say if I will ask you that you will have to work with 5 values in any given program that you are trying to write. So since I mentioned that you will be working with 5 different values, on a very initial level, you would say that I would probably be creating 5 different variables for this purpose, say A, B, C, D, E. You will be creating these many variables for working or writing such a program. But let's say if the requirement changes and the number of variables that you plan to work with, they grow exponentially. Let's say right now you are working with 5, maybe after some time you might start working with 15, probably after working with, for some longer, you are probably working with 50 plus values. So as and when the requirement is changing, you will keep on adding new variables in your existing set, Well, this could be one of the solutions, but definitely it is not the preferred approach that a programmer should go with. Instead, what a programmer should do is the programmer should create an array. So I am creating an array. Now, the way you create an array is almost similar to the way you create, similar type data type variables. Just like I was able to create these variables a, b, c, d, e by having a syntax like int, which is the data type, and then the variable name. The same thing I'm doing here. I am using the data type, and then I'm using a variable name. Now, since I want this variable to be a replacement of 5 different variables, look at it or listen to it very carefully. Since I want this variable ARR to be a substitute for 5 different variables, what I want is I want this ARR itself to work as the storage box for 5 different values. That means I should be able to access all those 5 different values with the help of this name only, ARR. And how can we make this possible? We can make this possible with the help of these subscripts. Because if you are using ARR, it is certainly difficult to understand that which of the 5 elements or which of the n elements you are talking about. So definitely you will have to provide some additional information, and that additional information is going to be the index. And how do you come on to indexes? Before coming on to the indexes, let us first see or talk about what has to be put inside these square subscripts that you are seeing here after this variable ARR. So as soon as you put this square subscript, what does it become is it becomes an array type data variable. Okay, and here you get to define the size of the array variable. The size of the array variable is equivalent to how many variables you want this particular variable to be a substitute of. Since for now we are looking at 5 variables, 5 different variables, and we want to replace all these 5 different variables with a single one, I would say the size is 5 here. And the moment you define something like this, ARR5, what does the compiler do for you is, compiler actually creates 5 different variables for you. How does it do that? It does it like this.
It starts
The
from
first
0.
variable, yeah. So you will have to start using indexes by now when you are supposed to be accessing those individual array elements or individual values of the array elements that you had created before. And this index must begin from 0. That means if you want to access the first element of your array, in that case, you will have to mention the subscript or the value inside the subscript is 0, right? Then the next element is going to be ARR1. Next element is going to be ARR2. Next is going to be ARR3. And then the last one is going to be ARR4. Why didn't I go to ARR5? Because I defined the size to be 5 here.
Because sir, 0 index is available here. So it
Exactly.
almost
Since we are
5
starting
memory
these
location.
indexes or the counting from 0 onwards, now if you count the number of variables that we have gotten so far, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we have already gotten 5 variables. So since we are starting the indexes from 0 onwards, that is why the maximum index that you should access is, remember, I'm saying here the maximum index that you should try to access should always be what?
N minus 1.
Exactly, n minus 1 or size minus 1, right? Okay, there is one more special thing about arrays. That special thing is arrays get contiguous memory location. Does anyone know what is contiguous memory allocation?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Uh, Contiguous means, sir, if the first memory location of array address store the address of 1000, then the second will be 1004 and third will be 1008, something like that. If the data type will be int.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good. Yes, that's correct. So, what do I mean by this contiguous memory location is? Before understanding that, let us first talk about what happens when you create 5 different variables. Let's say when you create A, B, C, D, and E. When you do that, it is entirely possible that this A is having the memory 100, this B is probably having 156, this C is having 116, this D is having 290, say 4, and this is having say 316. Just for an example, right? So the memory location that you are seeing for all these variables, getting allocated is certainly different. You cannot predict what is going to be the memory location or where are these variables going to be stored. You cannot have any say over that, or you cannot even predict that. But what happens is when you create an array like this, and another condition is if you know the memory location of the very first element in the array, very first element. So very first element is going to be ARR0. So if you know the base memory location of this ARR0 element, let's say if it is 100, then it is certain that ARR1 is going to be 104, ARR2 is going to be 108, ARR3 ARR3 is going to be 112, and ARR4 is going to be 116. That is certain. That is for sure. Why? Because array guarantees this contiguous memory location, that wherever the first element in the array is allocated the memory, the second element in the array has to be allocated the memory right after that. Okay. And why I had incremented a value of 4 between moving between the addresses of these array elements? Why not 2? Why not 1? Can anyone answer?
Yes, sir, because the size of int data type is 4 byte.
Exactly. If I would have created this array, let's say with the char data type, in that case, what would have been the addresses of other elements if the first base address is 100?
Other will be 101, 102, 103, and so on.
Very good. Yeah, that's correct. So this is what contiguous memory location is in the context of arrays. And this contiguous memory location is helpful when you will apply it or when you will use it in conjunction with pointer arithmetic. Pointer arithmetic. Does anyone remember? I think we did have a discussion over this topic in one of the previous sessions, probably in week
Yes,
7 or
sir.
week 8. I don't exactly remember. Okay. So what happens in case of pointer arithmetic is that when you create an array, let's say you have created this array ARR and it has 5 elements. And after that, you create a pointer, let's say a pointer. And what you do is you initialize this pointer with the first element of this array. Now, what will happen is, let's say there are 5 elements in the array, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So what will happen is this P will start pointing to the first element of this array. If you do, or if you initialize pointer like this. And whenever you would want to move between the elements of this particular array, what you can do is you can do P+1, you can do P+2, and what will happen is now this P will start referring to the next element or even the next to next element based on what expression you use. If you say P+1, it actually knows that I am a integer type pointer. I am an integer type pointer, and if I am making an increment of 1 in the address, that means I will have to make an I will have to make a jump of size of the data type multiply by 1, or multiply the increments that you are making. So it is going to be size of data type multiplied by the number of jumps. So jumps is going to be this, 1, 2, etc. Let's say if this is 100, this is 104, this is 108, this is 112, this is 116. Now, since we are always talking about integers here, so when you do P+1, now remember P is of integer type. If you do P+1, apply this formula. Size of data type is 4. Number of jumps is 1, since you are making an increment of 1. So 4 times 1. So ultimately, what will it do is it will start pointing to an address 104. It will start pointing to an address 104, and coincidentally, that 104 is the address of the second element in the array. And if you do P+2, then size of data type multiply jumps. Size is 4, jumps is 2, 4 times 2 is 8. So 100 plus 8 will be 108. Now P will start referring to this particular memory block, and coincidentally, it comes out to be the third element in the array. So because of this contiguous memory allocation concept or property of the arrays, we are able to use pointer arithmetics so easily on these arrays data structure. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you're able to understand that, let us try to write a very simple enough program with the help of arrays. All we need to do is, let's say, we will ask the user to enter a number between 1 and 10, between 1 and 10, and based on whatever value the user gives, accept those many inputs from the user. Accept n inputs, accept n inputs from the user, and after getting these inputs from the user, what you have to do is you have to find out sum of n input numbers. Sum of n input numbers. So this is a kind of an exercise, or you could say a revision for your OPPE exam. So I would really appreciate if you as learners try to drive this session. So this is the problem statement that I'm providing to you, that you will have to ask the user to enter a number first between 1 and 10. Now, based on the number that the user enters here, you have to accept those many inputs from the user once again. And once the user finishes entering those many inputs, you will have to find out the sum of the inputs that have been entered so far. So what do you think? How should we start writing this program?
Uh, Sir, firstly, we take inputs from the users using a scanf.
Okay. So the very first thing that we should do is we should create or declare all the variables that we will use in this program. So what
Yes.
do you think? How many or which all variables we will use?
Hmm. I think, sir, we will declare when we use uh, after
Okay.
using this.
All right. So the first variable that I'm creating here is going to be n. N is going to be the number of inputs the user wants to enter. Okay. So I would write a message here, say printf enter value of n, and then here I would say scanf. Which type of value I am expecting from a user? Which type of modifier should I use? Percent
Integer,
what?
percentile d,
Yeah, since I'm expecting a decimal number. And then what will
ampersand,
happen is
ampersand n.
I will accept this value in n. Now, what next?
Next, we will use a for loop.
Okay, let's create a for loop. What should be the starting of the for loop? What should be the
Uh,
ending?
it starts from 0 and it goes up to less than n and I plus
Okay,
plus. And after that,
okay,
we take inputs from the users for n times. And finally,
yeah, correct.
yes, sir.
So in order to run a for loop, we will need an iteration variable. So let's
Uh,
say it is I. Now, in order to accept those many inputs from the user, we will have to create an array as well. Now, the problem here is that at this point of time, at line number 6, I don't know how many inputs the user is going to enter. So
yes.
what do you think? What should be the size of the array that I will declare here?
Simply, sir, in a big bracket, put n.
But if I will say n here, then the value of n is not defined so far. It will be a garbage value here.
Okay, then I think after a
So
scanner,
here you have two ways to uh, you know solve this problem. One is that you move this array declaration from there to here, because here at this
uh,
point of time the value of n is defined, and you can say that the value of n will be in your control. Right, this is something that the user is entering, so you exactly know that user wants to enter these many inputs, and that can be set as the size of the array. This is one thing. But generally, this approach is not recommended, because it is always recommended to use to specify the size of the array as a constant value. You are
okay.
recommended to specify the size of the array as a constant value, and here n, as you know, it's a variable. Though it will work, it works in modern compiler, but it will not work in the traditional compiler. Modern compiler do come with some flexibility, But again, I am saying that it is recommended to specify the size of an array to be a constant value. And if
Okay,
you want,
I think put 10 inside them.
yeah, exactly. So generally what we do is, if we were to define the size of the array beforehand, we go with the upper hand. We are expecting a maximum number of 10 as the input from the user, so we define the size of this array to be 10 only, right? Do you think we'll be needing any other variable?
Yes, sir. Sum is equal to 0. Initialize
Yes,
sum.
we will need this sum variable as well, and we will initialize it with the value 0 too, so that at the end we should be able to compute the sum of the values being entered by the user. Now we have created all the variables, I guess, that we will need for this program. It's time to start accepting so many inputs from the user and inputs from the user. So as you mentioned before, what we will do is we will write a for loop here. The for loop syntax says the very first thing comes is the initialization. Now, which
Yes,
variable we plan to use for this for loop? We plan to
I,
use I. So initialization will say that the value of I is 0. You could also make it 1, but the reason I'm keeping it 0, I will tell you later. What is the
yes, sir.
maximum value this I can go up to?
N minus 1 maximum value
This
that
can
can
go up
I.
to n minus 1. So I am saying less than n. If I will say
Yes.
less than equals to n minus 1, that is also fine. And after every iteration, I want the value of I to be incremented by 1. Right? And here I will have to accept another input from the user. So I will say %d, since it's also a decimal number. And here I would say what?
Ampersand array and I.
Yes. So I am saying ARRI here. Now let's just assume that if we would have started this value of I with the value 1, in that case, we would directly start getting numbers into this array from the first
Second,
index. Now, first index means the
uh,
second element in the
second
array,
element. Yes, sir.
right? So in that case, we will have to do some adjustment here. We will have to subtract 1 from the value of I if we had started from 1 here, right? So this depends on the programmer's preference as well. If you want to start with 1, there is nothing wrong doing that too. Okay. Just a matter of preference. Now you have accepted this input. What's next? You can keep on
Yes,
incrementing
sir.
the sum.
Sum plus is equal to array I.
So you will say sum equals to sum plus arri, and
Yes.
the shorthand of this can be sum plus equals to arri. So I have written the extended form here as the main code, and in the comment I have specified that what can be the shorthand for this expression. Okay, sum plus equals to arri. Now once this is done, let's move forward and say the sum is %d and sum. Now, do you think that this is a correct program?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me try clicking on run. Hopefully we have not made any syntax error here. So let's enter the value of n to be 3 here. 3 here. Then it is waiting for the user to enter so many inputs. Since I have entered 3, so I will have to enter 3 more inputs, 3 more numbers in the input. So I would say 2, 7, and 5. What is the sum of 2, 7, 5?
14.
14. So here the sum is coming out to be 14. All right. If I will click on run once again, and this time I plan to work with 5 values, and let's say 2, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I entered 24. Fine, no issues. 2, 24, 5, 6, 8. The sum came out to be 45 for this. Is this a correct sum? 24, 2, 26, 26, 5, 31, 31, 6, 37, 37, and 8, 45. Yeah, that's correct. So I hope you understand how you can work with an array and how you can include it as a concept while writing C programs too.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Now, since we have solved one problem, let us talk about the next concept in this particular week, which is going to be the same thing as I was telling you before in the beginning of this session, which is an array only, but an array with a different data type, which is character array. And it is known as string. Okay. So string is what? The definition shall remain the same. It is going to be the collection of elements. But when you are saying string, you are saying it is collection of characters. Collection of characters means a character can be defined as any value that exists on your keyboard. It can be an alphabet, it can be an alphabet, it can be a digit, it can be operator, right? Plus, minus, multiply, divide. It can be okay, what all things you can think of. It can be any other special symbol, like be it space bar, exclamation mark, etc., etc. Okay, special symbols. Now, all of these things qualify to be a valid character. And character array is what? Character array is a collection of characters, right? And generally we call it as string. So if you will try to, uh, write a value like a multiply b minus c plus d, well, this is a perfectly valid example of a character array in C or probably in any other language, because here this A is actually a character, multiply is actually a character, B is a character, minus is a character, C is a character, plus is a character, and D is a character. So this is a perfectly valid example of a character array, right? So if you want to work with values that go beyond the scope of digits, that means if you think you cannot work with integers or numbers anymore, then you will come with characters array. The perfect example, or the very usual example of using character array is going to be, let's say if you want to work with names, right? Names will definitely have alphabets. You will probably not encounter, or you will not encounter digits in the names, but you will have to work with alphabets in that case. So if you want to work with alphabets or even digits or any other type of symbol that exists on your keyboard, then you will work with arrays for that. Okay, the way you create arrays is very much similar to the way you create integer arrays. How
Hello,
were you were
sir.
creating? Yeah, sorry.
Sir, we can also take inputs of mathematical operator also
Yes,
as
of
a
course.
as a
Yes,
input in array.
yeah, of course. That is a perfectly valid character.
Okay, sir.
Right. So what you can do is, okay, what the way you used to create arrays in case of integers is like this: int arr, and let's say the size. Right. The way you would do it for characters is, the only thing that will change is this data type. This int will become char, and here you would say str, and let's say define the size to be 30. Right, since when you're working with characters, it is highly probable that you are probably working with names or things that will require you to store or work with more characters. So generally 30, 20, whatever value that you think you are fine with. So yeah, this is the only difference, the way you create character arrays. And when you start working with arrays, or when you specifically start working with strings, there is a header file in C that is available for you, that you can include while writing C programs, which is string.h. String.h. And what does it? This library file does is, it provides you a handful of functions or utility functions. For example, if you want to find out the number of characters present in a string, then it gives you the access to strlen. Strlen tells you whether, or what is the size of the, or what the number of characters that exist in a given string. Apart from that, you have strcmp. This tells you that whether two strings that you want to compare are equal or not. Apart from that, there is uh, strcat. That means if you want to concatenate two strings, if you want to copy the value of one string into the existing value of other string, then you can do strcat, string concatenation. Apart from that, uh, there might be other string functions as well for utility purpose. So all these are the utility functions that you can make use of after you include this library file at the top of your program here. Just like for now, there is only one library file that this program is making use of, which is standard input output. If you want, you can also include string.h library file. And we plan to write a program with the help of character arrays. And the program that I plan to write now is to check whether a user input is palindrome or not. Palindrome or Not. So does anyone know what is palindrome?
Yes, sir.
What is
When we
it?
read a string from either side, the answers will be same, uh, like a
Exactly.
like a Malayalam.
Yeah, true. For simplicity, let's take the example to be madam. Okay. So if you start reading it from the right hand side, what you will get? You will read MADAM. And if you will start reading it from right hand side, MADAM is what you will read. Right. So if you read it from left, if you read it from right, you are getting the exact same thing. Right. And if you get so, or if this thing happens, in that case, this set of characters or this collection of characters will be said to be palindrome. And you will now have to write a program to check whether input that the user will enter is a palindrome string or not. So let's come back here, or maybe I'll just copy this program and we'll paste it in the chat in case someone needs it for the reference. Yeah, the whole program is there. All right. So now the use case is that we have to check whether a string or a user input string is palindrome or not. So what do you think? What should we do? Let's first talk about what all variables do you think we will require here.
Uh, First variable for taking inputs.
Okay, first variable for taking input, let's say char str1 for input, and let's say that length is 30, or I could even say 20 since I will not be working with long strings here. So let's keep it 20. And
Next variable will be I for
next variable
checking.
will be I for what?
Yes, sir, for checking whether it is palindrome or not inside for loop.
Okay, all right.
And we will also assign the variable accordingly after after using the program.
Yeah, that works too. Sure. So str120 I. All right. So we will be needing another. Uh, Let me do it here. We will be needing another string variable where we will be storing the reversed version of this string. Right, the reversed version. Now it's time to accept the user input. So how do we accept user input?
Using a scanf.
I can say scanf, and now since I am working with string, what do you think? What should be the format specified here?
Percentage S.
Yeah, that's true. It is going to be percentage s, and what I should write after this comma?
Write
STR
str
one and
str1 and 20.
Okay, don't I need to use this and here?
Yes, ampersand.
yeah, we have to use it.
Okay, all right. Now the input is here. The input has now come in str1. We have to find out the reversed version of this str1. How to do that?
So we can use strrev function, right, sir?
Yeah, we can directly use str. Okay, yeah, that is one of the utility functions as well here, strrev. So
Mm.
if I were to make this, you would say,
Uh,
declarative.
we can also use using a for loops.
Yeah. Okay. If I talk about declarative thing, then I could directly say str rev. Uh, okay, I need to find out the reverse of this str1, and then whatever output that I will get from here, I can pass it to strcmp function, and here I can compare it with str1. So this is a kind of declarative style where I am trying to do everything in the most concise manner that I can. But for the sake of simplicity, let us try to write the entire logic by ourselves. Okay. Though we will of course not be writing logic for comparing. For comparing, we will be using this function strcmp. But let's write the logic for finding the reverse of the string. So what do you think? How can we find out the reverse of the string?
Uh, Sir, actually, write a for loop.
Okay, let's start a for loop. I variable is already created. What should be the starting point?
Starting point will be the upper limit,
What is the upper limit?
20.
Are you sure?
Uh, yes, sir. In this case,
So
it's
we have
like
declared this str1 array with the length 20. Let's say if the user enters just 5 digits or 5 characters, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's all. And if you directly start this I with 20,
I
do
think
you think?
str len.
Exactly. So we will have to find out the number of characters that exist in this particular string,
Uh,
and then we will start from there. So in order to use such functions, we will have to use this library file. Okay, I equals to strlen str1. Do you think it is the correct value to start with?
yes, sir.
Are you sure about it? Remember,
Uh,
the indexes start from 0. So the maximum index in the array is always going to be 1
uh,
less than the length,
okay, -1 will be.
right? So we have to start with -1. And where should we go up to?
Go up to 0.
Yes, so as long as the value of I is greater than or equals to 0, then we will keep on continuing
I minus
and
minus.
minus this time. Yep. What should we do as part of this for loop?
Uh, Check if using if condition.
If
Uh, str yes, one
remember, we are
str.
writing logic to find out the reverse of the string.
Okay.
So what we will do here is we will have to store str1 I index at some place. Where should we store it? We have to store it in str2. But at what index? We have to store it at 0th index. But the problem is, if I write it 0 here, this will be overwritten with the every iteration of the loop. Next time when I will come back here again in the same loop, it will keep on updating the 0th index of the string. So ultimately at the end of this loop, there will be only one character. The length of this str2 string will be only 1. The reason is we are keeping on updating this 0th index only. Now, since we are keeping on decrementing this value of I here, somehow we need to use a variable here which will keep on incrementing every time. Right? So for that, what I will do is I will create another variable here, say j. Right? And here, along with initializing this value of I will initialize j. Right? This condition I will not mention anything because the condition is independent of j. But whenever I am making an increment in the decrement in the I will make an increment in the j. So now,
Yes.
whenever the value of I will be decremented, the value of j will be decremented. Sorry, when the I
Incremental.
will be decremented, j will always be incremented. This decrements and this increments. I decreases, j increases. Okay. So what will happen is, let's say if you start with index 4, if you are talking about a string of length 5, then the value of I will be 4 initially, j will be 0. So fourth index value will be given to 0th index. Then the value of I will be decremented, I becomes 3, j becomes 1. The second last character will be given to the second. Then third last character will be given to the third character. Fourth last character will be given to fourth. Fifth last character, which is also the first character, will be given to the last character in this string. So this str2 is going to be the reverse of str1, right?
Yes,
Now,
sir.
even before comparing them, let us just try to print. Let us just try to print these two strings, %s, %s, str1, str2. Okay. Okay, let's say I enter the first input to be a plus b minus c multiply d. This is my input. If I hit enter, then see, this is the string that was given initially, and this is the reverse version of that. Now start reading it from the right hand side. D multiply C minus B equals to A. Okay. Now, how do we check whether these two strings are equal or not?
Using if condition.
So strcmp is the function that will tell us whether these two strings are equal or not. str1 and str2. Now, if these two strings will be equal, what will strcmp return?
It is
Doesn't even remember. Sorry.
It returns. It is a palindrome.
I mean, palindrome. Will it return a string value? Will it return an integer value? Will it return a boolean value? What will it return?
I think it will in integer value.
Okay, and what will be that integer value if these are equal?
I think 1.
Okay, so what it does is, remember the strcmp function, it actually does the ASCII comparison. And what it does is it returns the ASCII difference between the two strings. So think about two strings which are exactly same. In that case, what will be the ASCII difference?
0.
So it returns 0 if both the strings are equal. So if both the strings are equal, then in that case, I will write the message printf, the input string was palindrome. Was palindrome. Right? Else I could say not palindrome. Right? Let's see if it works. Let's enter A, B, C, D, E, F. Do you think it is palindrome?
No, sir.
No, it is not. So it is saying not palindrome. So maybe I will just get rid of it. Next input, let me enter to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is also not palindrome. Let's enter 1, 2,
30.
1, 2, 1. Do you think it is palindrome?
Yes, sir.
It is palindrome. So it will say input string was palindrome or is palindrome. And if you enter Malayalam, as someone was suggesting in the beginning of this topic discussion, do you think will it come out to be palindrome?
Yes.
Yep, it is palindrome. And if you will enter any other thing which is not, let's say sir. Sir is not palindrome, but madam will be. Madam or ma'am, both will be palindrome. But okay, this capital N and small m is making a difference here. So make sure that you also take care of this thing. So if I enter madam, then it is palindrome. If I will enter ma'am, this is also palindrome.
Sir,
Okay.
is any method to ignore uppercase and lowercase like this?
Which one?
Suppose
Yeah,
if
I think there is strcmpi. strcmpi does that. Let me see if it works. Okay, it's not. Okay, strcmp case insensitive. It looks like there is no such method available directly in C. Yeah, it says strcmpi, but why is it not working? Is it declaration of function strcmpi? Okay, strcmpi is in C++, so you will have to write manual logic in C. exist in C++, not in C. This is what someone said in the forum. So for that, you will have to write the manual logic here. Okay, what you will need to do is you will also need to first you can directly convert the input string into either lowercase, all lowercase, or uppercase. And after that, you don't need to do anything. You just need to add an extra step here, say convert everything into lowercase or uppercase, depending upon what you prefer. Okay. All right. So is this understood to all?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, okay, I think these were the major topics that are important with the,
Sir, is any other
in the
method?
context of week 7.
Sir,
Sorry.
is any other method by which we cannot use a star CMP in this case?
Is there any other?
Is there any other logics that we can do the same question without strcmp?
Yeah, of course, you can. Just like we have used this for loop in order to find out the reverse version, you can use another for loop in order to check whether those two strings are equal or not.
Yes, under the
First,
if
the very
condition.
first thing that you can do is the very first thing you can compare the lengths of two strings. If the length of two strings are not equal, they can never be equal. Right? This is the first check. Now, next check,
Yes.
what you will do is you will start a for loop that will start from 0 and it will end at the length of any given string. Since the lengths of both the strings are equal, you can check or take the length of any given string. And then what you will do is you will start with 0th index, will go all the way up to the nth index or n minus 1 index in the actual string. And you will keep on comparing the ith index for both the strings. As and when you see that it is not matching, the ith index character is not matching in both the strings, you return from that place itself. You break out of the loop and you decide that both the strings are not equal. But if you never broke out of the loop, that means the strings are equal.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now the next thing is going to be week 8. And in week 8, with respect to OPPE2, there is one very important topic. Though there are two more data structures that were discussed as part of this week 8, but right now I'm focusing on the concepts that would be useful for you for OPPE2 exam. And that concept is going to be structures. Now, does anyone remember what are structures? What is this data type?
Yes, sir. A structure actually stores different data types in different memory locations.
Okay, it stores different data type in different memory location. But how is it different from creating just other variables in C? What is the benefit we are getting?
Sir, we
Let's
can
say,
use actually we can use all data types in a single variable uh, by renaming the struct.
okay. So the benefit here we get is that we get to combine or group the relevant information together. Let's say what you want is you want uh, some details to be collected for a given user. And when you want to collect details, now detail is something that will probably not be 3 or 4 things. You will probably require 7, 8, 15, 20 things. When you are asking your user to fill a form, then there will be many fields that will be available in that form in order to seek additional information about the user. So what you want is you want that information to be grouped in a logical space. So let's say if you create one different variable for each and every field that the user wants to enter, then how do you make sure that all these fields correspond to one single user and some other variables correspond to some other user? Of course, there is one way how you can do is you can keep on creating variables by prepending or appending something. For example, let's say you just want to work with three values. One is say the roll number of a student, the name of a student, and the standard of the student. Okay. So let's say one is roll number, another one is name, another one is standard, in which standard the student studies. Now, if you want, you can create so many variables by something like this. Int, since roll number I can assume is going to be of integer type, I would say int either std1 underscore roll underscore number. Similarly, I could create std2 underscore roll underscore number. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to either prepend something, or I could even append something into the existing names that I have. Similarly, I would be able to do something similar for name as well here. Let's say if I will say char, then std1 underscore name and std2 underscore name. Right? Something of this sort can actually be done, but there is a better way to handle these things or to handle this particular scenario. What you can do is you can create a single variable. You can create a single variable, and that single variable will give you the access to all the properties that you want or that correspond to a given entity. Now, since you are talking about a student specifically, what I can do with the help of structures is I can write a syntax like struct. Uh, no, I can give it some name, say student itself, student, and I will be using these curly braces. Now, within these two curly braces or between these two curly braces, I have the flexibility to define any number of properties that a student can have. I can define a bunch of variables here. Let's say the first variable that I want to work with is going to be roll number. The second is the name. The third was the standard. So standard, okay, maybe we will take it as the integer only, int standard. Now, you would say that how is it helping us? It is helping us when we will start handling this data in our code logic or in our code program. Why? Whenever you would want to accept inputs for a particular student, what you will do is you will create a variable for this student data structure. Student. How would you create that? You will write syntax like struct student S1. Let's say S1 is the student that you are referring to, and S1 dot roll number S1 dot roll number is going to give you the access to the roll number for this particular student S1. S1 dot name will give you the access to the name of this particular student S1, and S1 dot standard will give you the access to the standard of this particular student S1. And what you can do is you can keep on creating multiple variables here. So just like I had written here, struct student S1. Now after S1, you could say S2, you could say S3, you could say S4, and you could say S5. Now each of these S's that you are seeing here, each of these S's will come with their own roll number, with their own name, with their own standard. Right? So it is going to be providing us a lot of ease while writing the core logic of our program. And in addition to that, if you will club this concept with the help of arrays, let's say instead of creating so many different variables, what you can do is you can create an array here itself. You can say struct student, let's say S5. Now what happens is S0 becomes one student, S1 becomes another student, S2 becomes another, S3 becomes another, and S4 becomes the last one. So you can combine this concept of structures with the arrays in order to leverage the advantages that you get from it. Are you able to understand the use case of having structures in C language as user-defined data types? When you want to
Yes.
group relevant properties in a single entity. So here student is a single entity, and you have different properties for the single entity, say roll number, name, standard, etc. And you want to have a logical grouping between these properties, that these properties belong to this particular student or this particular entity. That is what you are achieving here with the help of this struct. Okay. Now, a simple enough program that we can think of writing with the help of structures is, let's say, uh, we will create a structure like this that we have created here, and we will accept these many things, these many properties for two different students, two different students, and then we will display those. We will display those. Now, since right now we are just working with two students, so you might think that we can even create so many different variables for that as well. But the thing comes when you reach a particular scale. When you want to work with hundreds of students, in that case, it becomes really difficult for you to maintain that code, maintain so many different variables. It becomes difficult to understand what one variable does, what other does. So that's why it is always better to group relevant properties with the help of a logical entity that we are trying to do here. So what we can do is we can create a struct first here, struct student, and the properties will be the same that we use there. First is going to be the roll number, sorry, roll number. Okay. Next is going to be the name, say 30. And next is going to be the standard. Standard. Okay. And now what I want to work with is I want to work with two different students. Okay. Two different students. So what I will do is I will create an array here. I will not create two different objects, though I have the option available. If I want, I can create S1, S2. This is entirely possible. But since we are taking one example here, let's club it with the help of arrays. So I will create an array of two here. Now S0 is one student, S1 is another student. Now it's time to accept roll number, name, and standard for every student that you have. So what can we do here? We have to accept these many values for every student that we are working with.
Yes, sir.
So we can have a for loop here, though we know that we want to work with exactly two students. So you can even write the entire code by yourself without using a loop. But as I'm telling you that, tomorrow this number can even go up to 100. So that is why I am taking a for loop here. Int I equals to 0. I will be less than 2 here, since we just want to have two iterations for this loop, and I plus plus. Now in this variable, what I have to do is I have to accept inputs. So let
Yes,
me
sir.
enter printf, enter roll number, and then I will say scanf %d. Now what should I write here? I want to accept the roll number for the ith student here. What should I write?
Ampersand.
Ampersand.
S
S
bracket I dot
Very good. That's
roll.
correct. This is what we need to do here. Next, we will say enter name. Enter name. And we can again use scanf. We can use scanf if we don't have spaces in our input, but if we want to work with spaces in inputs, then we will have to go with fgets, or ultimately if you want to work with scanf, there is way available for that, but I don't want to complicate the things right now. So I would suggest or recommend you to go with fgets if your input have spaces. Okay, so even I can go with fgets here. Fgets. Does anyone remember the syntax for fgets?
Sir, actually, I use a scanf in this case also.
Okay. All right. So the syntax for fgets is, firstly you define where you want the value to be copied. Now you want the value to be copied in s of I dot name. Now you have to define how many values you want, or how many characters you want to copy. So I will say I want to copy 30 characters. And where you want to copy that data from? I want to copy that data from the user input. So user input class is a standard input. So I will say stdin. And now I will copy this, and here I would say enter standard. Enter standard, and instead of saying roll number, I would say standard here. Right? Do you think I will be able to accept 3 values for 2 students here with this code?
Uh, Again, sir, please repeat.
Do you think I will be able to accept these three values, roll number, name, and standard, for two different students with this code that I have written so far?
Yes.
Okay. Now, since we will be able to accept those inputs, it's time to print that as well. So for printing that, let's take the same thing. Let's take another loop here. And the very first thing that I will do here is I would use this backslash n here, probably two backslash n's. And here I would say student percent %d details. And here I would provide I plus 1. So what I want to be written on the output screen is student 1 details and then student 1 details. That is why I'm writing something like this. Okay. And then here I would say roll number. Here I would say name. And here I would say standard. I can remove these scanf statements now. Now, if I want to print roll number, this is going to be of decimal type. What should I write here? If I want to print roll number of ith student here.
Uh, simply write that is S1 is bracket I
Yeah,
and
correct.
dot roll number.
Okay. If I want to print the name here, then
Si dot name.
okay, standard is of decimal type only, so I could say I dot standard. Now let's see if we are making any syntax error here. Not sure. Let's see. Okay, so it is asking us to enter the roll number. Let's say the roll number is say 239. Then okay, didn't ask for okay. Looks like something bad happened. Okay, S of so 5 30. If I will make it say 25. Okay, scanf here, then printf was enter name, and immediately after that it said enter standard. Okay, let me run it again. Number say 1 1. Okay, it is directly coming here. Just name. If let's say we'll create a character array here, like wait char s, not s, actually say st.
Sir, actually, I also facing such type of issue in my code also.
Is it specific to this, or let me see if it is working in some other IDE. Oh. Okay, so if gets okay, maybe I will directly use get s instead of using f gets here for now. I think this should work. Okay, what happened? Yes. I think this is also something that will. When did I get this? It's not working here. Okay. Okay, looks like the problem is coming because we are using a mix of scanf and gettrs here, fgettrs here. Just get back to what it was previously. Yeah, this way. All right. So what is happening here is, so see, I'll try to understand it like this. When I am entering some input here, let's say 2, 3, as soon as I hit enter here, as soon as I hit enter, so this enter is actually taken as the value for this si.name. As soon as I am hitting the enter and control is moving to the next line, this enter that I gave is actually getting stored in this value of si.name. That is why when we are trying to print the student details, we are seeing an empty string there. Ultimately, that is going to be what is happening here. So the recommendation is that we should not be mixing this scanf along with fgettrs. Either we use it independently or we will have to go with scanf here only. So maybe for now, I will use scanf here. si.name, not like this. It is going to be %s and s of I dot name. I hope it should work this time. Nine. Yep, now it will wait. Let's say the first name is ABC. The next name is standard is 3. Next name is going to be say 34. Next name is going to be say QWERTY. Standard is going to be say 8. And then at the end we are getting this student. Okay, maybe we can have some these backslashes n while printing these details as well. But if you look at the details, roll number is 39 that was provided for the first student. Name is ABC. Standard is 3. The roll number for second student is 34. Name was QWERTY and standard was 8. So ultimately we are able to access the elements of the array that we had created here. Again, the use case of creating a structured data type is to group heterogeneous data elements with a logical entity or inside a logical entity. It is entirely possible for someone, for a programmer, to create so many different variables. And like we were talking before, we can prepend those variables or we can append those variables with some special values that will help the programmer to understand or identify or differentiate that what this variable is for, which particular entity it is referring to. But we have a data type created specifically for this purpose. So that
But
is
sir,
where it is
it,
used.
but sir, it does not take as a, whole name, that is first name and a space and last name. It does
Yeah, in
not.
that case, we can split first name and last name.
But we can also use a scanf, sir. That is a scanf percentile d and inside bracket backend slash.
I don't want to use that expression right now, since many here in the session will probably not be able to understand at this point of time.
Acha.
So that's why
Uh,
I'm not touching upon that right now.
Sir, actually, I have written such programming code, but it does not execute properly. Can you share our screen?
Can you share that code in the chat?
Yes, sir, sure. But sir, in Gmeet, it has a limited text. I think.
You can just share the core logic of the program.
Okay, okay. Yes, sir, I have sent.
Okay, so here enter total number of students. You have created a structure here, printf, end of si of x. What is the problem here, by the way?
Uh, Sir, it also uses such type of such as it takes inputs that how many number of students
Mhm.
and get the roll number and name of the students and marks as a input of.
Yeah, correct. I mean, what is the problem here?
Problems are it does not meet our expected output as we desired.
Can you also share the output code? Because right now I'm only seeing the input, how you are accepting the inputs. But this last loop is missing, which is what you are
Yes,
using
sir.
for display.
Uh, okay, sir, I am sharing the last loop also.
Yes, then n the student roll number is okay. What does it do? I mean, how is the output different?
Sir, I am sending to output.
Okay.
It is supposed to 45. Sir, please, 2 minutes. Can I share our screen?
Yeah, I think someone mentioned in the chat here that when you are supposed to accept string input, you are using %d as the modifier there.
No,
Here,
sir.
if you
Actually, uh, it's take a whole line as a input. Suppose I write a hello world and
hmm.
hello, and then after a space and world. Then it's take a whole string as a inputs without any break. This is a short answer.
uh, okay,
I think I have present only for 2 minutes, sir.
okay, all right. Yeah,
Suppose I run to, and after enter the student roll number, it also takes inputs.
it
But
also
after
what?
the, sir, actually after entering the roll numbers, and
Hmm.
I also enter a 45. And here you can
Okay.
see that scanf is present here, so that I put a 45. But after that, it
Hmm.
should print the enter the name of a student, but it
Hmm.
does not print this.
Okay, so I am
And
not really confident about this, syntax that you are using at line number 18. So, though you were mentioning about it before, but I was thinking about a different thing that was something related to regex. But this is the syntax that I am not currently aware about.
okay, then. Sir, again it takes again it demand to put the inputs, but actually I have already put a inputs that is 45 here.
Okay. Can you remove those spaces from the scanf? Those are causing the problem.
Okay. I think so.
Yeah, so it was with the spaces only.
Uh, but this time, sir, it's take inputs after that the this line, that is enter the roll number, enter the name of the students. After that, it's demand to give take the inputs.
Maybe it's better that you do this formatting like 0.2f while printing the output, rather accept the input that the user is accepting as it is. Talking about the marks part.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir. It works.
Okay, all right. So you can now stop sharing your screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me share mine. Okay, so this is the most important topic from the week 8. If you were to talk about OPE2 exam, structures is where you can expect a question from. There are two other data types as well, unions and enums, but they are not as important as this in the context of OP2 exam. So right now I'm skipping that and I'm moving on to the next week. Even before discussing about week 9, I want to discuss important concept which is of file handling. So file handling is something that I think I have even discussed a little bit in the last session too, but uh, I think this is a concept where students really struggle with. But there is a very specific pattern that you have to keep in your mind while working with file handling questions in any exam, with respect to C programming. And I want to talk about that pattern. So there is some boilerplate code that you always have to use no matter what, right? But before we actually talk about file handling, I would first like to talk about why do we need file handling. Doesn't even have the answer to this question. Why do we need file handling?
Yes, sir. For any modification, reading and taking inputs and something like that to operate operations on the files simply.
And why do you want to operate with files?
Because to store it permanent as to store it as a permanent.
Exactly. So we are talking about a very important thing, which is data persistence. I would like to take the same example that I probably took in the last session as well while explaining this file handling need. So let's say you are writing a software in C language. Uh, let's take the example to be a banking management software. Okay. So in banking management software, what you would be doing is you will be storing the details of your customer. Right? The details of the customer will probably include their names, their addresses, their current deposits, any loans that they have had, things like that. Apart from that, you might want to store some other bank related information too in the same software. Now, the thing is, let's say an employee of that bank comes to the office, opens the system, start feeding some data. At the end of the day, the employee shuts down the system and comes back later. What do you expect the software to do? Do you expect the software to remember the data that was stored previously the last day, or do you want the data to vanish away, to be volatile in nature? Of course, your
Actually,
answer is going to be that you want the
volatile.
data persistence. You want that data to be present even on the next day. Not only on next day, it should be present forever until and unless it is not explicitly or manually deleted by someone. Right. But how do you achieve that? Because when you are writing programs and when you are creating variables like int a, char b, float c, etc., in that case, these variables will be holding the actual values. And as soon as your program finishes the execution, forget about shutting down the system, restarting it. Forget about even that too. I am talking about as soon as the software gets closed. Let's say you have only closed the software and you have not closed your system. Now, if you close the software and reopen it, even in that case, if you are working with these variables, they will not be able to retain what the values they had in the previous execution that was run. Right. So this is not allowing you the data persistence, and this is a big problem because when you are writing softwares, you want this thing as a very fundamental thing or as a very fundamental feature while writing any software, while writing any complex application with C. So in order to tackle that problem, what happened is the access to the files was actually provided with the help of C. And can someone tell me where are actually files stored in a computer system?
Uh, I think it is SSD or HDD.
Okay. Yes, that's correct. They are actually stored in the secondary memory, right? Hard drive or the solid state drive. Now, since the data is present in secondary memory, okay, what is the difference between main memory and secondary memory?
Secondary memory used for the permanent storage, and for the primary memory is used for the running of current program.
Correct. So main memory, which you are calling as RAM, is the volatile memory in nature. That means the data gets lost as soon as the system is restarted, shut down, or started later. But the secondary memory is non-volatile in nature. That means once you save something there, it will always remain there until and unless you manually or explicitly delete it or the system gets corrupted. In other cases. So in order to leverage this functionality of secondary memory or secondary storage to achieve data persistence, this concept of file handling was introduced, right? With the help of this feature in C, what you can do is you are capable of writing the softwares that I talked about while starting this discussion. Let's say you want to create a banking management software, you will be able to write such a software with C language because you have the concept of file handling available with you. You can make your data permanent, right? Otherwise no one is going to use your software if the data is getting deleted every time you are closing the software and reopening it. So when you store data in file, it gets stored in the secondary memory because that is where files in your computer system actually get stored. The same example is, let's say if you are writing a C program, let's say hello.c is the file where you are writing your C program. You write your C program, you close your computer, or you come back probably after a week. Your file hello.c will still be there, right? Because that was actually a file, and that file was actually stored in the secondary memory. But when you are running it, when you are running the C program, then the file contents are coming from the secondary memory into the main memory so that they can execute. But it is actually there in the secondary memory. That is why you are able to get the access to it even after coming up, a week later. So we are going to use the same thing as part of the programs now, and we will start storing some data in the files so that even if the user comes a day later, 2 days later, a week later, a month later, a year later, or eternities later, the file should be there. Like the data should be there. Data should not get corrupted. Data should not get deleted. Okay. Now, since the concept of file handling exists, we first have to understand that what types of file we will be working with. There are two different types of files that we will specifically work with, or we do work with in C language. Can someone name those two types of files? Anyone? Can someone name the types of files? Okay, there are two. One is text, another one is binary. I hope someone should be able to tell me what are text files.
Yes, sir. Simply it's written as a text, something alphabet, number, and something like that. But in
Okay,
the binary system, it is stored as 0 and 1.
so text type of file is the file which a human can easily read or interpret or understand. Right? A human will be able to directly interpret or consume the content that exists in the text file. But binary is something that is not human readable, not human readable, right? So our main focus is going to be with text files. Binary, though, you will see a couple of programs, probably one or two programs while working with it, but the major focus shall remain on the text-based files. Now, no matter which type of file you are working with, there are only a handful of operations that you can perform on those files. What are those operations?
Writing, reading,
Okay, first is open, one is
creating.
close. That is for sure that you will have to always do. Now, apart from that, you said writing and
Reading,
reading. Is there any other thing?
appending.
Appending. So again, what is the difference between writing and appending?
Writing means the previously original content will be erased, but in the case of appending, it will be original content will as it is, and next new text will be printed at the end of the page.
Exactly, that's correct. So what happens is when you try to open a file or when you try to work with a file in the writing mode or in the write mode, you could say, then what happens is the existing content of the file is erased. Existing content is erased. Right? Many a times you may not want that to happen, or in most of the cases, you would not want that to happen. So in that case, there is another mode, another special mode that you will have to use, which is append mode. Append mode will allow you to edit the files. This is the actual definition of, well, I would not say exactly editing, but I would say allow to add content. Of course, you can even achieve the functionality of edit with the help of functions like fseek, etc. But right now we are not talking about those. So that is a different thing. So read mode, all you know, with the help of read mode, you will be able to read the content or consume the content from the files. With the help of write mode, you will be able to write a fresh new file. As soon as you opt for the write mode, that means you want to wipe out the existing content that the file has, or if the file does not exist, you want to create a fresh new file. And in the append mode, the file already exists and you want to add some more content at the end of the file. Remember, it only adds at the end of the file. Okay, so these are the file modes. Now, as I was telling you before, that apart from these three operations, read, write, and append, there are two operations that are mandatory for you to do whenever you are working with file handling, which were open and
Open and close.
open and close. This is mandatory
Close.
for you whenever you are working with file handling. And in order to open files or in order to close files, there are specific functions available in C. For fopen, you have a function named fopen. I mean, for opening a file in C language, you have a function with the name fopen available with you. And this accepts two arguments. Can someone tell me what are those two arguments?
Yes, sir. First one is file name and another is a mode of open.
Exactly. So one is file name. The first argument is going to be file name. And the second argument is going to be the file mode. File mode is going to be what operation you want to perform. Read, write, append, or a combination of
Yes.
those. So that is what file mode is. Now here the file name could be say, abc.txt, and file mode, let's say, can be R, can be W, it can be A, or a combination of those. Right? Now, this is how you use fopen.
Hello.
Now, whenever you will use, yes,
Hello,
yeah,
sir.
yeah,
Suppose I have a file that extension is .csv like this, and
okay,
extension is entirely different from the txt files. So we can also use fopen to open this file.
yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, we can only use the file with extension .txt.
No, I don't think so. You should be able to read files with different extensions too.
Okay, okay.
Maybe we can get a confirmation for this here itself. Okay, maybe I can just open this. So let's say I create a file, say hello.csv, and in main.c, I am writing hello.csv. Can write some content here, 1 comma 2 comma 3, let's say.
Yes, sir, I got
Yeah,
it.
I
I
am able to
asked
read it.
from yes, sir. I asked from AI. It tells that every extension will be supported.
Yeah, so
That is .txt,
yes, you can do that.
.xml, and something like that.
Okay. Now, these are the, I would say, arguments or the parameters that you have to pass to the fopen. But fopen also returns something. Now, can someone tell me what does it return, fopen?
I think it returns either one.
Okay. It returns a pointer. It returns a pointer, and that pointer is of a very special type, which is of type
Oh,
file.
file type.
So it returns a file pointer, so I can name it as FP, file pointer. And the type of this variable where you are accepting the return value of this fopen function, this must be of this data type, that is file. File is a data type in C that you use for working with file handling. So whenever you want to open a new file and you want a variable to always reference or to always refer to that particular file, you will have to create a variable with this data type, that is file. Now what happens is FP is a reference to this particular file. Whenever you will have to perform any operations of this file, particular file, say abc.txt, you will always have to use this FP as the reference to that. And since we are also talking about close, close is very much similar as well. When you use fclose, it accepts only one argument, that is going to be the file pointer. So let's say if fp was the file pointer that you got from fopen, then if you pass it in fclose, then you successfully close this file and you inform the operating system that this particular file can now be made available to other resources if they want. Remember, closing the file is very important in C programs. Otherwise, it could cause memory leaks, or it could, you know, even prevent the access of that particular file from other resources. So that's why it becomes mandatory, or it becomes important for you to always use fclose whenever you are opening any files in C language. So fopen is what you use for opening a file. Fclose is what you use for closing a file. Apart from that, there are a bunch of functions that you can make use of while reading from file, writing into files. There are many other functions available for that. We have talked about that in the previous sessions too. fgetc, fputc, fgets. We have already talked about fgets in today's session. Similarly, there is fputs. Then we have fscanf and fprintf. I mean, many other functions are available while for reading and writing into the files. Now, specifically talking about this example, what it is doing is, can someone tell me? Let me delete this output. What do you think? If you read this function, okay, let me first try to explain you that how the fopen and fclose function is being implemented here. Fopen function was used. The first argument was supposed to be the file name. So file name here is hello.csv, which is present here. And the second thing is the mode. And the mode,
Yes, is reading mode.
yes. So the mode here is the reading mode here. That means you want to open this file in the reading mode. All right. And at
Yes,
the
sir.
end of this, if you see, this is actually closing this, particular file by using this fclose as the function, and this file was the pointer that was created to this, or created while accepting the return value from this fopen function. So this file was the pointer that was created from this data type called file. Now after that, can someone tell me what this logic is doing?
Yes, sir. Actually, you assign a variable ch character type, and it's
Okay.
read the files that matches the character is G and EOF, and if it is not matched, then it
Okay, what is
uh,
EOF? Can someone tell me what is
if the
EOF?
character end of file,
Okay, end of
it
file.
goes up to
Is it a
end of
single
the
character
files.
or these are three different characters?
No, I think it should be single character.
Yeah, it is a single character because f get c can only read one character at a time. So what it is trying to do from
Yes,
here is it is trying to read one character at a time, one character from the file at a time, and it will keep on reading from the file until
and print it.
the character that it has recently read is not equals to EOF. As soon as it becomes equals to EOF, that means all the file contents have been read and it has already reached the end of the file. So it will make this expression false and the control will come out of the while. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now,
And finally, it prints a character one by one.
yeah, exactly. Even if you look at the output, what I have in hello.csv is there are five characters, right? 1, 2, 3. There are five such characters. And if I run this, then you can see each and every character is getting printed in one line. One, then comma, then two, then comma, then three. This is exactly what was happening. It is reading one character at a time. It is putting a new line character and then the character itself. So this new line character that you are seeing here, then the character, then new line character, and then this character. New line, then character, new line, then character. Now, in file handling, we would like to solve a problem where the problem statement is simple. We will be reading from a file. Let's say we'll be reading from a file named hello.txt. And inside this file contents, we have to find out the total number of lowercase alphabets. Now think about this problem that you have to read from a file, you have to read the content of the file, and you have to check that how many characters in that file content are in lowercase, and you have to find out the count.
Okay, sir. I think first read each characters of the files and then checks that characters the value and the speed of character is should be greater than 97 and it should be equal to and less than 122. Then after that
Yeah,
it will be
correct.
the lowercase alphabet.
True. We can use this logic and let's try implementing it here. So let's read from a file named hello.txt in the reading mode since we don't need to write anything to the file as of now. Char ch, yes, we are okay to go with ch. We don't need this printf statement anymore. We don't need this putchar statement anymore. What do we need to do is we need to check if ch is
Is equal to uh, is
yeah.
equal to greater than
If it is
97.
greater than equals to 97
90.
and
Yes.
yeah, I'm
And
getting the
it's
suggestion here and less than equals
less
to
than
122.
equal to 1.
If that condition is true, then what should happen?
Uh, Character will be the lowercase.
Yes. If this condition is true, that means the character is a lowercase and we can increment the value of count here at this point of time, right? And at the end, we can simply printf number of lowercase characters. Okay, this already giving me suggestion. Fine. Let me look at what is present in hello.txt. If you look at it, what do you think? How many lowercase characters exist here?
I think 5.
5. This A, B, C, D, E are all the lowercase characters here. So let's see what happens. So it is saying that there are 5 number of lowercase characters here. Let me try to add some here. Now the count should get increased. I think I have added 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 or 5 more. The count should be 10. Yeah, the count is 10 here. So this is all we were supposed to do here. We have to read one character at a time, and then we will have to check whether that each character is falling in the range, in the ASCII range of lowercase alphabets. Now again, coming on to this, what is the ASCII range for lowercase characters? We have just talked about it. Small a is
97 to 122.
97, B is 98, C is 99. This will keep on increasing, and finally Z will have 122. Right? Similarly, for uppercase characters, what is the uppercase character starting ASCII value?
65.
65. For small capital B, it is going to be 66. For capital C, it is going to be 67. And finally, Z will be what? 65 plus 32.
90.
90.
90.
Right? Sorry, not 32. Actually,
Yes, sir,
26.
90.
There are 26 alphabets. Yeah. Yes. So this is a simple enough example that through which you can count the number of lowercase characters in the file that you are trying to read. Apart from this, you could have even implemented a different logic. See, logic is something that can be implemented in many different ways. The same logic I'm talking about. If you are given a problem statement, it is entirely possible that you, your friend, and let's say if you are sitting in a group of 10, then each and every person in that group of 10 can come up with a different implementation. This is entirely possible, right? So it is not always true that only the implementation that we try out here is the correct implementation. Whatever implementation that you are thinking is correct, definitely that can be correct as well,
Sir,
because there is no single solution to any problem.
sir, can I do also like this? Instead of 97, we put a small a under the single
That can also be
quotation,
done. That can also be done. Sorry. Yeah.
and a small z under the single quotation.
Yes. That would work too.
Yes, sir.
Ultimately, in the or behind the scenes, I would say what is being compared is actually the ASCII value, even if you're doing it this way.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So file handling, I think I wanted to discuss a little bit of overview and yeah, one example that I'm almost done with. So weeks 7, 8, okay, 9, I think we were not able to do in today's session. So in week 9, I would suggest you to try out a few questions with 2D array. 2D array is an important concept that is a part of week 9, and week 10, which is definitely an important week. So probably we have discussed most of the important concepts from the section 2 of your OPPE2 exam. I think the last session covered the section 1 of OPPE2 exam. So
Sir, which
as long
type of
as
question?
you,
I think asked from 2D arrays like matrix.
yeah, matrix type questions, yes.
That the sum of the boundaries, sum of the elements of boundaries, and something like that.
Well, of course, I cannot, reveal the exact problem statement. The question may come in your set, might not come in other set. There is a possibility for that to happen as well. So, anyways, this is just a heads up to you that be prepared for a 2D array type question, especially from week 9, as you mentioned that matrix type. That would be good for you. Apart from that, as long as you are able to understand whatever we have discussed in today's session, you should be good to go with the section 2 of the OPPE2 exam. And I believe the section 1 is not going to be too much difficult, as section 1 will probably include concepts related to okay, till week 6, I guess. In till week 6, we discussed concepts like loops, conditionals, functions, recursion, scopes. So these are some easy concepts in C language, and as long as you know how to use loops, how to use conditionals, section 1 should be a cakewalk for you to solve.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, then I think I'm pretty much done with the today's session. So I would like you all to, or I would like to wish you all, all the best for your upcoming OPPE2 exam, and hopefully all of your results will yield good outcomes in that exam too.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining with us here. Once again, wish you all the best. Have a good night and take care.